there. And there we go. Three, two, and one. Well, Mayor Zacher, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. Uh, you look like a man that's been dealing with a budget headache. Is that
Uh,
accurate right
I
now?
mean, yeah, budgets are budgets. It was a tough year from the get-go. As
Hmm.
soon as we kind of brought all the numbers together, came to $850,000 shortfall. So everybody had to kind of go to work, and all the department heads came together and went through everything line by line and cut as much as they could out of their budgets. That still got us down to about 250 or right over $400,000, and we had to make some tough calls at that point. So right now, um, we had to go with not filling three positions, which is better than eliminating positions when people are in there. But at the same time, you got to make up for that work that's going to be still going to be there, but figuring out how to be more efficient about it, asking people to do more with their time. And then the other part came out of the COLA. We do have a step plan for the non-represented people, non-union, so that helps. And we weren't able to do a COLA this year yet, but there are also some things, some variables out there in the budget yet that we won't know for a few months, probably going into the 2026 budget season. So therefore, as things come along and we're able to make some amendments, we're hoping to be able to, possibly give some bonuses as as the funds are available, but no guarantees on that. But again, you want to make sure the people that are here know that they are appreciated. But if you have a shortfall, like that's a tough one. And you can take uh, debt out for, capital improvements, road projects, stuff like that. But as soon as you start looking at taking debt out for operations, you're in a world of hurt and you just can't go down that path. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's the nature of government right now. It's the nature of the public and the overall economy. So everybody's trying to figure out how to move forward. And so we're in the same boat as
Absolutely.
everybody else. You know?
And just to clarify, when you're saying COLA, you're meaning the cost of living adjustment for the employees that you already have, correct?
Yes. Yep.
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 The
So.
and again, like you said, that is an absolutely tough call to make because you want the employees to stay. You want to be known as a good place to work and a place that's going to take care of its people. But at the same time, when those employees are driving to work, they see the potholes and they see when work is not getting done in the city, what that can do to the population uh, as a in large, and that's not something that you want to be known for either.
Well, yeah, and you want to make sure the budget, as our streets department, public works department are working on, helping be a part. It's a big department between all the streets, the construction crew. A lot of cities don't have their own construction, you know, company, basically. We also have our own engineering company because we have a department of engineers that are preparing our construction department for the seasonal road construction and all that stuff that's going on. And that's a huge department, monetarily speaking. People, the majority is people and materials. Most cities don't do that. Most cities at this point in time, if they ever did this, they just have an engineer crew, a couple of engineers that map out the projects, and then they hire out the companies on the private sector to come in and do the work. There's an upside to that because you don't have to carry all the costs of having all the people and the machinery, but there's a downside that you don't necessarily get the work done the way you necessarily want it. And then if you got to try to get them back to fix something, they're not right there at your beck and call. Whereas for us, we have a great group of people that care a lot about the community, and they're willing to go above and beyond. They have the equipment ready to do some of this stuff. And so therefore, yeah, you have to balance it and say, well, we still need to get street stuff done. We need the potholes filled. We need the new streets construction done, mill and overlay, chip and seal, like all those projects matter. Um, but at the same time, you got to cut back and still fit in the people because the majority of the cost to any government entity, or really any entity, is people. And it's unfortunate as as technology takes over some of those jobs, but that's the reality to it. And it seems that it coincides with the revenues going down anyways. And I don't see how those are going up when you have the levy limits on you from the state level. And then they say, well, you can increase your levy limit by net new construction, but a community like ours, that's not, it's easier said than done. It doesn't, you don't just snap your finger and everybody's building because the economy's rough right now and we're not necessarily right off the expressway where people are going to be building more readily. So it's a challenge, and it's going to continue to be a challenge for the next couple of decades.
So when you were going through all of that and putting together the final document, what were you able to accomplish in the budget this year?
Well, we were able to accomplish paying for all the people that were employed with us at the time. So they're there. They do get these step increases. So it's going to be 1.5 to 2% that most of them get. Again, you got to keep in mind too that government jobs pay well from the get-go. So they are getting a good salary, of course, depending on their level of skills and expertise. And then we did implement something 2 years ago that is coming back to haunt us a bit. It was a wage study that took into account, where they're at on the STEP program. And then we decided at that time, and I'll admit that I was on the council and I voted for this, which was a longevity cost also in their payment. And now that I see it from this perspective, where it is my executive budget, I realize that having voted that in put us in a really tough situation in terms of being able to afford it as the years go on, and we're still trying to keep up with that. The tricky part is you can't necessarily just take it away either, so you kind of have to control it a little bit, or bring it back in line by cost of living adjustments. And if you don't go as high, then the next year you're kind of adjusting for that accordingly. Now, keep in mind, everybody makes a good wage and they got great benefits through the city. So it's not something they necessarily want to, walk away from. But at the same time, it's always hard when people feel like they're just not getting their fair share. But again, it's tricky in a government because the money comes from the taxpayers or special programs, and it's not the same as the private sector where you're like, it depends on how you're treating the customer and what you're doing and how you're running the business with the lean budgets. Whereas here, the money is just expected to come. There's a little bit of I don't know, just it's an expectation that it's always going to be there and it's always going to go up until it doesn't, and that's when the hard times come. So I appreciate the fact that people have asked me to be in the position to try to lead us through this, in hopes we come out on the other end, as strong as we can. It's never going to be the good old days. Like, those days are gone, and we're all going to go through some downturns here, and we have to be able to stay ahead of them and keep the city solvent and keep the residents happy and keep people wanting to move in and live here, because you don't want it the other way around, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, all that said, it's what is the end number then for the taxpayers? Are you able to keep things relatively level, or the mill rate going up a little bit?
I'd have to get a little bit further into that because we need more details on that.
Sure.
We have the public hearing on this coming Monday, and then there will be a council meeting on the Tuesday following that to finalize. And again, they still have to, the council still has to finalize this budget. So there's still room for conversations to be had. And if there's better ideas that brought to the table, those will still be talked about. I'll make sure of that. But at the same time, we have to have a balanced budget in order to move forward with this year going into the next year. And I do realize that, there's everything's in the state of flux. Like, you try to have a snapshot of where you think things are going to be. But as the year goes on, things are going to adjust accordingly. More revenues can come in that weren't seen. They can be adjusted. And some of those expenses can hopefully go down. But ultimately, you got to be careful as a council, because if you're voting things in throughout, just say 2026, and you're voting things in on a monthly basis that still have to be funded, well, you just blew your budget, so now you
Mhm.
have to go back to the drawing board. So you have to be really careful about that when you're asking for things to be funded at, month by month at those council meetings. That throws things off.
So then, the one spot in the city where we know you've got room for growth, and we know that you're putting it out there, of course, is the mill, and that
Mhm.
site. There's obviously a lot of potential right there. How is that coming as far
Yeah.
as getting that on the market and possibly getting a new business in there?
Yeah, the mill is doing well. So the biggest thing, I won't go through like all the details. I know we've talked about it before, and I've
Hmm.
released some videos that people can see on our YouTube channel and social media, Facebook, if they want more details of just the mill. Right now, the craft mill was the big one that was coming down, and my wife and I were able to stop by and be close by when they did the last large building coming down, tipping over. They call it tripping the building, and they kick
Sure.
out the legs and it comes down. There's some more to be done, and they're, you know, doing really well on the time schedule and getting the stuff in and out of there. Once that last part of the building is down, then they will actually go back to the front and process more of the materials. And then they have to go through all the concrete breaking down and pulling out the rebar, basically creating piles of road base and work their way through that pile and get down to the end. Once that's down, it'll be down to grade level, and they'll be in a position to market that land to new buildings coming in for manufacturing. We have somewhere in the ballpark of 60 megawatts of power there for manufacturing companies, which is a lot of power for manufacturing, not a lot of power for database companies. I know a lot of people are learning
Hmm.
more about database, and they're more scared of it now than they were before, just
No
because
kidding.
ton of power, ton of water, not a lot of jobs. But they also do make the electric companies that are in your area much stronger, because they have to use up that power and they're paying for that power. And they're not raising the power of the community around them, which is, I haven't seen that statistics on that anywhere that show that when these database companies come in, they're actually going to be raising the rates of the citizens. Typically, the more power you're bringing into your community, the rates are going to go down, because you get a better price on that rate if you sign a contract for 10, 20, 30 years out. I'm not quite sure how far out you can sign those contracts, but they're there, and you can sign them for better rates, and that's what you have for those 20 years, and you can get better rates when you're buying more power at one time, just like anything else. So but ultimately, they don't provide many jobs at all, if any jobs. It's mostly remote in from other locations. So
Hmm.
yeah, we want manufacturing, we want jobs, and that's what we're going to be shooting for.
Then,
Um,
yeah. And speaking of power, you're taking on a solar project for the city as well. Tell us about this.
yeah, this is going to be a point of controversy. It was actually supposed to be on the planning commission meeting this month. But as soon as the paperwork went out to the neighbors and we posted it, we got a ton of calls of people who just wanted to know more about it, and were kind of afraid the perception of forcing it, through so that you could just do it, and that whole, public versus government issues that come up. So once I understood that, there was a ton of concern about this, we delayed the planning commission, or we delayed that agenda item for the planning commission
Hmm.
until the one in December, so that we have time. So we spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks trying to pool the resources, the marketing for it, like what things are going to look like and all that. We're going to working on releasing that on our website and on our social media, and getting it out to the community. And then, of course, we'll have to post it and everything else. But hopefully by then, it's not necessarily going to, calm down some of the emotions, but at least educate people better as to what it is that the project entails. And it is a little bit interesting, because we have WWLC is our electric company, uh, um, wastewater and electric company, wastewater lighting company, sorry. And they own about 200 acres inside the city or on the edge of the city. Some of it's actually in Grand Rapids, but it's wellhead protection land. At least three of the 40 acres are wellhead protection, and then the other two we're looking at possibly developing. Again, that's in the mix right now. There's no guarantees on that, but we would like to just because we need housing and it would be a good location for that. But a lot of I's and T's have to be dotted and crossed before that happens. With the wellhead protection, though, the question comes up: if you build on it, develop on it, you have the potential to contaminate it. A lot of people are going to agree or disagree with that if nitrates are getting into the water supply. Granted, the one main question comes up in saying, do you really want to risk it? Because once you contaminate your water supply, it's contaminated. Then what are you going to do? Who's going to take responsibility? And I don't necessarily want to put my name on that document that says go ahead and do it. So this is two of those 40s connected are 80, and inside that 80 would be 25 acres that would be directly inside the woods. So you wouldn't really see it from any direction because it would be inside the wood line, quite a bit of wood line too, not just one row of trees. And it
Sure.
would be 25 acres. And right now they're saying it would cost them $100,000 to hook into the power system. And I could go on and on. So cut me off if you need to cut off on time, Mike. But we're part of a consortium called GLUE, Great Lakes Utilities. So it's a consortium of municipality-owned
Hmm.
electric companies that buy power together so we can get a better price for it. And they're the ones that are saying we want to build these solar arrays, partially because they have to, I think, for like whether it's credits or what
Hmm.
exactly that part is, I'm not sure of. I didn't ask specifically, but typically every utility has to be able to show a certain amount of alternative energy. So this was their solution of all those groups that were together. They'd each build a 25-acre solar array, and that would give them the alternative power that they needed to stay in business. So we're trying to put up one of those on this 25-acre plot. Um, it costs $100,000 to connect it to a three-phase system, electrical system in our distribution system, and it would save what they're saying right now is about $200,000 a year, $6 million over the 30-year life of the solar panels. And that electricity would actually stay within our grid, within our distribution system before it hits
Hmm.
the meter. So it would never go onto the grid. It would stay in here, which means we'd be pulling in less energy from the grid system, which is
Sure.
where the savings comes in. Not saying our rates are going to go down, they're just not going to go up as fast over the next 30 years. So, anyways, that's a long story
Right.
short. And there's going to be a lot of talk about this and just trying to get it out to the people. And in the end, the council will have to vote on it and we move forward accordingly. So,
And again, just to backtrack a little bit, when we're talking about wellhead protection, you're meaning that's where a lot of your water is coming from. That's going
yep,
into the customers, right? So that's
yep.
land that you're owning, so you can control it to keep it from getting contaminated. So I guess when you really get down to it, the question is, what are the chances that solar panels would contaminate your water supply? And whatever that risk is, 1 to 100, I mean, is that a risk that the people are comfortable with?
Yeah, you're right. And my understanding is that's not even an issue anymore. But again, I know people are going to disagree with me and agree with me on different points. But what part of the selling, the WWLC went through roughly 40 different contractors, and they picked a one. Again, this is a professional electric company. Like these are the professionals that we've hired, and we've actually gone so far as to draw up an ordinance many, many years ago that separates our electric water company from the city and insulates it as much as possible so that council is not directly overseeing the utility company. They actually
Mhm.
have a commission that oversees it and they work autonomously as much as possible because again, the board is made up of professionals or people that really know the ins and outs of what's going on. We do have to trust them to know, like they don't want the water to get contaminated. That's their whole business model. So we give them that, although in the end they're separate through the ordinance, they're still a department of ours because,
Mhm.
it's for the city, we're the municipality. But anyways, they are the professionals, and you have to say they're doing their due diligence to know that these panels are sealed in a way that it's not going to leak silicone into the ground. They're going to be sealed the way they need to be sealed because they want to do this right. And they also ultimately their goal is to save money and create alternative energy. So again, I know I'm not going to please everybody on this one, and I don't really, like I said, whatever way the community decides to go is the way it goes. Like I've learned in a year and a half, I can't attach my emotions to anything that we're kind of trying to work on in the city
Right.
because there's just so many voices involved, and I'm not here to control things. I'm here to just manage it and make sure that we continue to move forward according to the way the people and the employees, work together to move forward. So,
Oh, we always appreciate the time, Mayor Zacher. We'll look forward to chatting again next month.
yep. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Have a good day.